Hey, y'all. Let's do this. Live from Washington, D.C., podcasting to the world. You're listening to Headliners with comedian Ed Blaze. This is gonna be awesome.
Mama, that African guy's peeking through the window again.
He got jokes, he got depth, and he might have COVID and Ebola, but he's keeping his 6 feet. It's a new day. The new normal is the new normal. This is Headliners with comedian Ed Blaze.
Good. Welcome to the show called Headliners with Ed Blaze. This is my new joint, so I was like, let me reach to my friends and kind of invite them, kind of see, help me elevate this show.
Amen.
Like,
okay.
Just jump on the stage and be like, hey,
nothing wrong with elevation.
I know, right? And you guys know each other and all kind of stuff, so yeah.
Corey looks familiar, but we don't know. No, we ain't on no. Oh, there's my dude. But we will be by the end of this. By the end of this interview, we will.
Yeah, I know Sampson. Who don't know Sampson?
Yeah. You seen his show before?
Yes, sir.
Oh, okay, good. Wait, live show or like?
No.
Or like on Facebook, YouTube, and all that, right?
Yep.
Okay.
No, you got to do your thing on Instagram too, Sampson.
Sometimes I used to do more, but I try to put actual like content because everybody got on a wig jumping out of a window on Instagram.
Right.
And I have been doing real comedy for too long to be doing that. But I'm gonna tell you something though, is I have learned to respect them because guess who's working right? I'm still working, but they're still making videos. Have I been on a comedy stage this month? Nope. So you gotta respect it.
Yeah. That's true. But those are the one they I guess people confuses them for being comedian or like skit. I don't know what you call them, like Instagram comedian or skit comedian, because let's say
they comedians. What I've had to do was disassociate whatever feelings that I was having about that. Like, they're comedians. They make people laugh. It's a stupid way to make people laugh, but they're making people laugh. And
I like your glasses. I meant to say,
I got them on because I'm high. So, so the difference between them and us is we get on stage, but it's like they're still. If more of us comedians who actually can get on a stage and entertain an audience for 30, 40 minutes and learn that formula that they have, I think that it will probably be one of the healthiest things financially we could do as stand-ups, because then we can take more control of our careers. I think we rely too much on each other, which shouldn't be a bad thing, but it's the entertainment industry and people are going to be cutthroat. It is what it is.
Yeah.
But we will be able to be more self-reliant in how we're able to approach, bookers for being booked, marketing to our own audiences, creating things, avenues of income where there are no middlemen. Mm-hmm. And that's the sucky part. Like, that sucks that you got to learn how to do that. Yeah. But that's a part of being if you want to be a successful comedian in this business, you have to learn how to do that, because you can be funny as fuck and they will still use you for that. You're going to be on these shows and stuff, seeing everybody else that you're doing these shows with ended up on Comedy Central and HBO, and you like, hold up, where my shit at? Mm-hmm. So there comes a point in your career, and I tell comedians who've been doing it for more than 4 or 5 years, you got a solid 20, 30 minutes. I say there comes a certain time in your career when people approach you to do stuff, you have to say, I'll do it, but you got to do this for me.
Yeah, but here's what I was about to say, though, with the Instagram skit comedian, you said there, but also comedian. So they will get like some of this local promoter, right? And the local promoter become their fan. They'll be like, "Oh, this guy got millions followers on Instagram, and he's funny. Let me book him to do a comedy show." and they go to do a comment. They book them, and the guy be like, "Oh, fine, I'll come do a show, but I need 15,000." And then they go there, they ain't got no half an hour material, and then comedians like you, and you don't have enough like follow. You don't have million follow on Instagram.
What are you talking about? I
I
have thousands and thousands of very loyal who buy tickets to my shows, and they buy weed in the parking lot afterwards.
But I'm saying the promoter will look at you like, wait, he ain't got no like million followers, right? But in reality, Sampson got hours and hours of material to do on stage.
Well, that's a dumb promoter, and you know what you do with promoters like that, especially when we know the pattern is you hit that promoter up. Yeah. And you say, hey, and not only am I on there with I have a few thousand followers on it. I have a very solid following.
Like loyal followers, the loyal fans.
Yeah, and a very good number that I'm proud of.
All right.
And hold on. So what you do is when you approach that promoter, you approach him and you say, hey, I know that you're booking X Instagram comedian, and this is great. I love him too. But you should have me to come in so that you still have that stand-up formula there so the audience still gets that when they come. Mm-hmm. So you sell it to them as creating an experience where the audience doesn't feel slighted, and just charge them a little something. And then who knows, you might get in with Instagram comedian, but at the end of the day, I'll still be on stage making people laugh.
Yeah, that's true. Anyway, let's do this. I know we almost started the show. I wanted to start like if my small audience that end up to like see this video, or let's go back. Like I know you guys, but if someone doesn't know, let's start with Cory. Who are you? Where are you from? Where do you grow up? What do you do?
Yeah, man. Let's say I grew up here, born and raised in Maryland, been here all my life. I bounced around from job to job to job, kept getting fired. And then one day I was tired of getting fired.
Mentality of a business person, they always get fired because they can't find something that make them happy.
Dude, I was getting fired for being me. And then then the last time I got fired, I was like, okay, forget that. We ain't gonna get fired no more. Started my own business. Hardest thing I've ever done, made no money. I mean, literally, it's the same classic story that everybody has, right? Made no money. Your friends didn't support you. And that's not a knock on my friends and my family. I love them to death, but they didn't see the vision, which is cool. Yeah. And then one day it just things just start clicking, man. And a lot of it was because I just know in my life, I had got sick and tired of being sick and tired, got tired of being around negative people, got tired of doing like the negative stuff. Yep. Didn't focus on the money anymore. Didn't focus on I wasn't trying to be famous. I would never want to be that or nothing like that. But and then it just started clicking, man. And then it just and then once it started taking off, bruh, once it was because I always say I never chased the money, I attract the money. And then once the money was a big deal. Like once I stopped struggling, once when you stop. Like ramen noodles wasn't a choice before. I had to eat that. But once you get to that point where your bills are on auto pay, because I'm a black man in America, my bills have never been on auto pay. Once I start putting my bills on auto pay, life was just amazing. And then I just started meeting incredible people, man. Just being in rooms that I know for a fact that I ain't supposed to be in, and I ain't nothing but God working. So then I built this business, ran into you, Ed. We did some some comedy events together. Yeah. And like you said, man, just sitting back, kind of being a fly on the wall and seeing people becoming a student of how did they grow their businesses. Like even this thing, hey, Ed, I ain't never had no microphone before, but I was like, wait a minute, they making money over there. They got microphones. Let me jump on Amazon and give me a microphone. So that's pretty much it, man. Then fast forward to now, I'm just every day just grinding, hustling at just
but you say you're a business owner, but you didn't even say what's your business though.
I know, because I'm trying to walk away from it. I have a mobile entertainment business. It started off as bartending, but that wasn't. We quickly morphed into a mobile entertainment. What I saw my clients renting equipment, hiring all these other people. They would hire 5 or 6 different contractors, and I just thought to myself, wouldn't it make sense if they just wrote one check? Like it made sense to me.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah. So I just brought everybody under, and the initial thought was I thought like Oprah, right? So she has everything under Harpo. like TV, radio, film, acting, like everything. But when you write that check, you write it at the Harpo. So I just thought about like just bring everything under one wheelhouse. And again, that's how everything sort of scaled up, is once I just realized that like if I made it easier for my clients to just pay me, and then I pay everybody else.
Okay, so question, if people just give a shout out, if people want to find you, how will they find you?
Sugar Rim Bar, man. That's all you gotta do is Google Sugar Rim Bar.
Sugar Rim Bar.
We own everything.
Awesome. And my boy, Sampson, like, give us also history. Where you from? Where you grew up and all. Who are you?
Oh man, I'm on here with some cool people. I was just listening to Cory. Let me tell you, first of all, Cory is the man. Let me say that. Just listening to that story, I know he had to persevere through a lot, especially all that goddamn sodium in them ramen noodles. That's a lot to persevere through. One of my friends came over here and made some chicken 2 nights ago. And as you get older, and Cory, as you can eat a little bit better, your palate changes.
Right.
Because you're able to, as Black men, a lot of times we don't take care of ourselves. Amen. Because we don't have the money to. And as you start to the part of that knowledge of being successful is knowing you got to take care of yourself. And, he was down there, he made that chicken, man. If I was still in DC, I would have been tearing it up. I took a bite of that. I had to say, what did you do with your plate? He said, I threw mine away. I said, I know you did. I'm gonna throw this shit away too. You knew it was bad. But no, it's really good to hear that.
It's more like just jump
keep it
stage,
short, I'm from DC, which is that's DMV,
and like you're busy and all kind of stuff. So,
you from Africa, but I think I don't know, you DC.
He Africa Avenue. He right off of Africa Avenue, man. Don't let Ed fool you.
Africa Avenue.
Ed be on here talking about, I come here only short time. I only come short time, but then when he off camera, he be like, man, that motherfucker tried to get me for $30.
Right. A whole Negro.
Hey guys, actually, First Lady is joining. Sylvia. Pull your camera out. We can't see you. we tried to see.
It say she connected. Okay, yeah, real quick. So basically, from DC, got the whole DC hustle going on. I started doing comedy 20 years ago, and I moved to LA 4 years ago. But I was in the Bay Area for 3 years before that. So been grinding. Oh my God, the Queen is here, so I had to carry up. Hey, Miss Sylvia, how are you?
I'm good. How are you?
Good. I'm good because you're good.
Oh, that's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah, so we started a few minutes ago. So Sampson is going through telling us where he's from. I know he's lying, but let's go ahead.
I remember Sampson kind of almost like when he first started doing comedy. Mm-hmm. He came off the break. He was funny. Off the break, he was just right. I mean, brand new on the scene, and he brings the funny. And I remember being so proud of him because of his courage. Mm-hmm. I think a lot of us were over the top with him at that time. We're talking 20 years ago. Well, you've been in comedy for about 20 years, right, Sam?
20 years.
20 years. 20 years ago, it was not popular to just be courageous. It just was not. And I think that he set the whole comedy world on fire as a result of that. So kudos to you, Sampson.
Thank you, Miss Sylvia.
Kudos to you.
See, now she done told the truth about me. Let me tell y'all the truth about Miss Sylvia. Please forgive me for what I'm getting ready to say.
I was about to wait for you to finish first about your introduction, like who are you and all that stuff. So
right.
Hold on, Miss Sylvia. Right. I say this with all due respect. Miss Sylvia is our elder. Miss Sylvia is a legend. Yep. But Miss Sylvia will shut all these bitches down.
Hey, Sampson. Period.
Yeah, but Sampson, go ahead and finish telling us about you. Because I know everything, but the public may not know. So
Exactly.
So it's like Miss Sylvia was saying, I've been doing this 20 years, and it's been exhausting because the climate is changing towards, especially Black gay people. I'm happy to now, there are more Black gay people in comedy. Like I remember when that was not a thing, and you're seeing it a lot more now. There's also this shift that's happening that I'm happy to see, but it's not the real thing. Mm-hmm. And I've always been about the real thing. And that's why it works with me, especially when I'm in front of us, because Black folks had this thing. And this is the one thing that I don't like about mainstream, but I love about being with us as Black folks is when we come in those comedy clubs, when we come in those rooms, it's like a conversation between family. Mm-hmm. And it's like really being there with family, because I let them know I'm Black first. Like I grew up with mice running around in the house and no daddy, and y'all on the playground with snot coming all out your nose, teasing each other about having fat mamas, and I come from that. Yeah, I'm a part of that, but at the same time, this is my difference. I'm still a part of the family, and when you let them know that, they listen to you, and that's what we need more of on television. And I think I hate to pinpoint everything on gay, but because gay is so closely connected to all the other moving parts of sexuality we don't want to talk about as Black folks, we know that once we accept gay, we're gonna have to deal with all the rest of the shit. And we too conservative about that.
Here's funny. One time I was reading an article, they wrote an article about you, and I was getting mad. Mm-hmm. And like the way they did is like they mentioned Sampson, and then they say something, I can't remember exactly. They say something, Sampson McCormick, gay comedian. And I'm like, he's just a funny comedian. Why are you labeling him? But in my head, I'm like, maybe I understand. Like when I see, I'm like, he's a funny person. I don't want to curse, but he's a funny fucker. Like I know, like right. And so in my head, I'm like, are the labels? I want to read as a funny comedian, and then when I'm reading in an article, then okay, he's a gay comedian. But in the headline, I guess I don't know. Maybe it was just in my feeling where you kind of feel like stop labeling him to.
Why can't he just be a comedian, right?
Yeah, I just want him to be a funny comedian.
I've never called myself that or anything. Mm-hmm. I don't like for that to be mentioned. Like I remember I used to do shows, and they'd be like, "Yeah, he's a funny gay comedian." Like they would say that at shows, and I'm like, I would get up on stage, and then I would have to clown them for that. Yeah. I'm like, I ain't gay. That's you. Stop pushing the agenda. Stop pushing the gay agenda. Yeah. And
Well, like, what, Sampson? I guess because I'm old school. For a long time, I've appreciated people saying that you were a gay comedian, because in my mind, I'm thinking that gives other youngsters who are coming up and they hear people openly say he's a gay comedian. In my mind now, this isn't fact or anything. I'm thinking that's so awesome, because now these kids won't be afraid. You opened the door and you started shoving them in. If they think that if we start addressing you as just a comedian and not have the profile of being gay associated with it, I just think that it just helps a whole bunch of people that they know that you are open. That's what I meant when I first said your courage. Exactly what you mean. Yep. Your courage. So Morrison, your courage.
You saying that Sampson is the Nat Turner of the gay comedy community. He is the Harriet Tubman. He done led more gay comedians to the promised land.
He
is the Martin Luther King of the gay comedians. All right. We got you, Sampson.
Yeah, definitely. I'm definitely in there.
So that's why I've always appreciated people.
No, in my mind, I was talking about like the story. Yes, in the story, tell us who's Sampson. But the headline, just don't. It's like almost saying he's a Jewish comedian. He's a Black comedian. Like,
right?
Oh, these are just funny comedians. I don't know. Maybe just anyway. All right, let's move on. Let's go to First Lady. And I want to tell the story how we met, and I used to laugh every time I see you. You came to one of my shows, and I was like, "Oh, this is so awesome!" It's like, so go ahead. You tell people if they don't know who you are. So I don't want to just do the whole introduction. You can go back. Who are you? Where you grew up?
Well, look, remind me to, if I forget, I want to tell them how, and you don't even know this about how I used to love to hang out with you and Tracy. Oh, God. But a lot of people don't know, I started out as a singer. I started singing. I was in a little singing group, and I didn't really, I knew I could sing a little bit because, see, I'd grab onto a Patti LaBelle song and say, how is it that two people who live together? You know, I was just.
What's your Cash App? What's your Cash App?
$ 50 years for Sylvia. There you go. But I could also do impressions. But when I started doing impressions, there really were no Black women I could do impressions of. I mean, there were Black women out, but I couldn't imitate them. You know, like at that time, I was doing all white women. I was doing, you guys may be too young to know who I'm talking about. I started doing Jane Hathaway from the Beverly Hillbillies. Oh, Mr. Glover, Jeffro, you know, that whole. Then I was doing Lily Tomlin, Cher, Betty Davis, Joan Rivers. I was doing all, and there were no, quote, Black clubs anywhere near me. I grew up in DC, 12 blocks from the White House, by the way, and it was not pretty. It was not pretty. And so, I mean, because it was the ghetto. And how it got to be, I could go walk to the corner and I could see the White House right down the street. There it was. So I joined the singing group and we started getting a little popular, called The Passions. And one of the girls left that Christmas to go home to Texas, where she was from Dallas, and she never came back. So our group broke up. So now I got to figure out what I'm going to do. And I got a job at a place called the Chef's Table in Washington, D.C., off Bennett Road. You know that, Sampson? You know that? Yeah.
Of course.
And I was the first act they had in there. And this was in I was doing the singing stuff, and I had my one big show with the group at Constitution Hall. And I talk about that all the time because that was my first professional show. Yeah. First professional show. Because Eddie Murphy always talks about he was the first Black person to perform at Constitution Hall. And I'm like, no, you weren't. But
yeah.
And so
you should call him out on it.
Well, I've done several shows with respect to that. As a matter of fact, I'm doing a documentary with him, Dave Chappelle, Chris Rock, Chris. What's the other? The one that. Yeah, I don't know if Chris is going to be it, but Chris. Oh shucks, he's a good friend of Michael Jackson's. Chris Tucker, Monique. It's a bunch of us. It's about 8 or 10 of us, and it's reflecting on the early history in Black comedy. And so Eddie Murphy's on there too. He and Martin Lawrence and Tommy Davis, and the crew. Yeah. And but I said all that to say I'll get a chance to tell Eddie when we get to film it next year.
And then after you do it, you got to put out a press release about it so Miss Sylvia can get some more publicity. Okay.
And been lying all these years.
Yeah. So I was singing, and then I thought. I saw a lot of female singers around me, beautiful girls, and they could sing. And I said, that's a whole bunch of singers, but how many impressionists are there? And so I went down that road, the comedy road. And I entered the Miss Black America pageant. And because we couldn't enter the Miss America pageant, rule number 7 in the Miss America, I think it was 7, in the Miss America pageant was, in order to be in this pageant, you have to be Caucasian. In your face, straight up. So J. Morris Anderson created the Miss Black America pageant. And that's a long story. So to make it really short, I ended up tying with Bernadette Stannis from Good Times for first place. Yes. How about that?
Yeah.
It was like, back then she had this body that, I was like, y'all not gonna put me behind her coming out there in a bathing suit. No, we're not doing that. But anyway, we tied for first place. I actually beat her out. She got a card that night to go to Good Times, and I got the invitation to go to Europe to entertain the American troops who were leaving the Vietnam War. And it was big. I didn't even know how. I'd never even been more than an hour or so on an airplane. So when I was in Europe, I just posted a post, Sampson. I don't know if you saw it or not, but it's a Red Fox post, because Red Fox, you heard about me in Europe. And he told his constituents when she gets back to the States, bring her out to LA, which he did. And I went out to LA because he wanted to see me in person. He said he read all the hoopla in the magazines and the European and the Germany newspapers and blah, 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 because I got a lot of play over there. And when I got back the next day, I got on a plane, thanks to Mr. Fox, and he flew me out to LA. And they took me to this room with 8 people in the room. Now, here I was just coming off as 5,000, 6,000 military guys, handsome, fine, checking a sister out. And I'm thinking, you know, maybe I am kind of cute, you know.
It's more like just jumping.
Sorry, Sampson, I know you would love that. I mean, those guys and ladies,
and
they
like
were so friendly. They were so cool. So as soon as I get in the room with the 8 people, I'm thinking, God, 8 people, where's my audience? And I knew then, because Dewey Hughes had told me, Dewey Hughes, Kathy Hughes' ex-husband and all that, he said, when you get out there to LA, don't be nervous, don't be scared, because there are many people right behind you would love to fill those shoes. So I did what I did, and they handed me a contract that day. I didn't get no lawyer to look it over. I ain't even look it over. I just signed it because that's young and not, you know, it's Red Fox. Who's not going to sign a contract with Red Fox? And anyway, I did. And I started going to a club called the Comedy Store. And at that time,
this is in Los Angeles.
They were pretty new then. They were fairly new. She hadn't, Mitzi Shore, that's Pauly Shore's mom, hadn't had the club open for long. I didn't know any comics. I didn't know that the guys I was hanging out, like you and I, Ed, used to hang out, and Tracy and all the, my crew back then was Robin Williams, Jay Leno, David Letterman, that crew, because, you know, everybody was just getting started. Everybody was just getting started. Yeah. And I was doing impressions, and Missy liked me. And she said, we're going to have you back because, you know, you're just different. You're different. And I got to thinking, okay, now I didn't know how big a deal that was. All this stuff, I didn't know how big a deal it was to sign a contract with Red Fox. I didn't know how big a deal it was to get a one-on-one with Mitzi Shore so that she could bring me back to the Comedy Store. I didn't know that Jay Leno and David Letterman and Robin Williams, who was my favorite, Robin Williams, because he used to always say, you know what, Sylvia, you're going to be big. You're going to be big. And we never even knew that he was going to blow up like he did. Well, I had to come home because my dad was dying. So I had to leave LA and come back to DC. And he died that April, and my mother died right behind it. And before she died, I decided I wouldn't go back to LA. I'd go to New York because I didn't want to leave her there because I knew she was heartbroken from my father. And in my book, you know, I have an autobiography out. In my book, I talk about how she reached up under her mattress and pulled out this wad of money that she'd been saving her lifetime. And she said, here, you take this because I think you're going to be somebody. And I couldn't take it. I just couldn't. It was her life savings. It wasn't mine. But at any rate, when I got to New York, I started checking out all the open mics. So I was doing Rodney Dangerfield's club every Sunday. He had open mic. He would be there. As a matter of fact, Rodney was so cool. Rodney would buy your jokes. He never stole them. He was like, oh, no, yeah, oh, no, you know, he wanted.
Was he drunk? What was wrong with him?
Had something there. See there. Don't even get me started on back in the day, because I can tell y'all some stories about Bill Cosby. I can tell you a whole bunch of stuff about. I can tell you the reals. There wasn't nothing nobody told me. I was there.
Well, ain't nobody here but us, Sylvia. It ain't number 3 of us on here.
Let me tell you something.
But this is what people are witnessing. Like, this is called entertainment or comedy loyalty right here. First Lady Sylvia, Miss Sylvia. That's what is called comedy or entertainment loyalty right here.
Yeah, and I've kept a lot of this stuff because I didn't want to tarnish mine. You know, you just don't do it. You just, certain things you don't do. Yeah. And I remember one night I went into a place called Catch a Rising Star. And there was a guy there hosting. Now we're talking the 70s, okay? There was a guy hosting, and his name was Jerry Seinfeld. So I meet Jerry. He lets me go on stage. And I was shocked because all the other places I go in, they've never had any room. They never had any place for, they would, they just weren't letting me get on stage. And Jerry Seinfeld said, okay. So he gave me like 3 minutes. And he said, why don't you come back? And I was so shocked because nobody y'all have to remember, the only Black female comics that I knew of at the time, I didn't know any, was Moms Mabley. And then I started seeing Shirley Hemphill on television. And then comes Marsha Warfield, then the big talent starts to come through. But I didn't know any of these people back then. I knew of them. So I didn't have anybody to talk to. I didn't have anybody to share my experiences with. Jerry Seinfeld was the first guy to let me come on stage at a club, other than Rodney Dangerfield, because there was a white guy, I think he was in Britain. His name was David Copperfield, not the magician. Mm-hmm. David Copperfield. He was the guy who was hosting the Rodney show. And I'll tell you this right quick, Ed, because I think you'll like it. And Samson, I know all three of y'all gonna like this. But they were doing a big party at the what's the name of the hotel? The starts with a W up in New York.
The Western, oh God.
Not Western.
Anyway, it was one of the big, beautiful, glamorous Fifth Avenue hotels. I'll think of it in a minute. I'm getting old. It's okay. So they were doing this Jewish party, and Sammy Davis Jr. was going to be there along with Elizabeth Taylor. Mm. So I figured, since Sammy Davis Jr. hosted the Johnny Carson show, that I could meet him, because if they give me the opportunity to meet him, I will talk him into letting me come on the Johnny. It was just my belief. I just had that much confidence that you give me that opportunity, I'm going to make it happen. Yeah. So my roommate at the time, who was a high fashion model and just gorgeous and fabulous, she said, "You'll never get to Sammy. You will never get anywhere near him. I'm telling you, that's like $1,000 a plate for dinner, and you will not get in." I said, "Well, okay. All right." I'm going. And I went, and she started believing me that she went with me. And sure enough, again, to make another long story short, this story is also in my autobiography. We're sitting there, no Sammy, no Sammy, no Sammy, no Sammy. So we decide to leave. And when we got down on the elevator, the Waldorf Astoria, that's what it was, the Waldorf Astoria.
Waldorf, yes.
So I see this little black spot way down the hall. And I said, Sheba, that's Sammy. So we get back on the elevator and get back up to the penthouse floor where they were having the dinner. And sure enough, he gets off the elevator. "Hello, ladies." And that was it. So I didn't know. I said, I just blew my opportunity to meet Sammy. But he had a whole entourage with him. Yeah. So lo and behold, I guess God said, "No, you're going to meet Sammy. Don't you worry." Some guy from his troupe comes out as we're about to leave. He said, "Hello, ladies. So what are you doing? What brings you here?" Now, me and my thinking, I don't want him to know I'm coming there to try to meet Sammy. My roommate on the other hand, "Oh, we're here to meet Sammy Davis Jr." So he said, "So what do you do?" "I'm a comedian." And she says, "I'm a singer." So he says, "Where are you working?" Now, in my mind, again, I'm thinking I got to be working somewhere, because if I'm not, he's going to think, "Oh, they just little chumps, whatever." So I said, "Well, I'm at Rodney Dangerfield's tonight." Not knowing that man was going to say, "Well, Sammy and Rodney are good friends, and I'm going to tell," because he was so he was his bodyguard. He said, "I'm going to tell Sammy, let's go past Rodney Dangerfield's tonight."
Oh, you told him yourself.
So now I got to run home, get dressed, head over to Dangerfields and beg David to let me come on, because Sammy Davis Jr. is coming to the club. And all of that happened, and all of that. I met Sammy, we talked, he told me to send him a tape, because when he walked in the door, I was just coming off stage and I got a standing ovation. So when I did meet him, when the guy took me over to meet him, he said, "Was that applaud for you?" I said, "Yes, sir." And he said, "Okay, send me a tape." But anyway, I love telling these little in-between stories, because
Show us the book before you, yeah.
Oh, wait a minute. Now I have a new book or the autobiography. Which one?
Both of them. You can show us
both of them.
Oh, okay. Well,
all of them.
Here, I got 3. This is my autobiography. Almost there, almost.
Yep.
The Many Faces of Sylvia Traymore Morrison. When I first saw this picture, I was like, "Oh my God, they got me looking good." Looking good because
that's you.
And I'm also the author of the series Jelly Beans from Heaven.
Jelly beans.
All right now.
This is the most so far. But I think this new one coming up is going to run over this one. But this has been a blessing. It's been a real blessing, and if we have time, I'll tell you about. And here's my new book. The new one, and it's all. I was diagnosed back in October with pneumonia and COVID-19 combined.
Damn.
Now I'm already high risk.
Yeah.
And then the doctor tells me at first, you have pneumonia. Now I already know pneumonia can kill you on its own.
Mm-hmm.
I know this. And I was so sick, I could hardly, I almost couldn't see. Just with, oh God. And then when she took the COVID-19 test, she said, we'll have the results back in 2 days. But she decided, as sick as I was, that she wanted to know right then and there if I had both of them. And she came back and she said, you tested positive for COVID-19. Now, guys, I don't know if you've been around anybody or know anybody that's had this thing. It was the most deadly, horrific, horrible. I almost cry when I think about how sick I was. I was so sick. And there's a section in this book when I know I saw death. I know that I saw it. And here I have pneumonia and COVID together. And I'm trying to think, I'll tell you this right quick, you guys. I was so sick. I hate to even say this, but it's the truth, and it's in this book. Mm-hmm. I was so sick, I was okay with dying because I couldn't live.
Oh my God.
I couldn't live in that sickness. It was so bad. There was one night I was laying on my right side, and I wanted to get over here on my left side because I'd been on my right side for like 18 hours. And when I turned over in the bed with me, now I could have been hallucinating. I don't know, but I'm just telling y'all what happened real quick because this story is riveting. The story is riveting. I turned over on my left side. It took me about 15 minutes to do that because first of all, everything tasted like vomit. Everything. So it was hard for me to take my medicine because even just a little, I had to have something on my stomach to line in order to take the medicine. The cracker tasted like vomit. So I turned over and really quickly, because I don't want to spoil the story. I saw one of my dresses in the bed, and right in front of my dress was a huge ball of slime, black, shiny slime. And in the slime, you could see elbows and knuckles and stuff trying to push through. Now, this is in my sickness. It was
what?
Yes. And so
Ed was visiting you.
See that? Ed, you have the fun. But anyway,
coming to her nightstand, Ed.
It was all. That's why the name of the book is Me, Satan, God, and Corona.
Yeah.
And COVID-19, because I had a taste of Satan, I had a taste of God, and I had a huge taste of COVID-19. So at any rate, I'm not going to tell you the end to that story because I need for you to read it, so I won't disturb it. But anyway, I tell all my friends, all the people, do what you have to do with this COVID thing. If somebody's too close to you, ask them to step back or step away at least 6 feet. Don't be ashamed. I'm telling you, you do not want to get sick with this. You do not want this kind of sickness. I can't believe the number of comics that have called me and told me that they were sick and their stories. It's like, if you don't know, you don't know. If you've never had COVID, or if you don't know anybody who has had it and been devastated with the sickness, it is not a game. I will tell you quick. My name is Sylvia. When you say Sylvia, you spit all over the place. Put your mask on if you're going to say hi, Miss Sylvia. Sylvia, Cynthia, Sam, all these S and C names, they all have possibilities of spitting on you. And I never thought about this.
Paul and Peter.
Samson.
If somebody wants, hey, Samson, there you go. You sprayed all over the place, and Lord have mercy. And you know, Samson, people want to be coming to you to hug you and just do whatever to get whatever you have.
Especially the boys.
Okay.
Talking to people.
Don't be afraid to tell them to. If they don't have on a mask, just don't be afraid. You do not want to get this sickness. You don't.
I don't know, Miss Sylvia. If they look too good, I'm gonna tell them to come here.
Like forget COVID.
So that's it. That's it. And
thank you so much. Thank you so much for sharing. And so we go to Cory. Actually, speaking of COVID, Cory, I was just speaking to him. He just got back from Las Vegas.
Wait a minute, which Cory?
Him, Cory, right?
Oh, this Cory. Oh, you were in Vegas, Cory?
I go everywhere, Miss Sylvia.
Spreading some COVID. Yeah, so it's more like just jump on stage.
I'm a super spreader. I
go
everywhere.
Yeah, Cory, they get too excited when they see you. They gonna spit on you. Cory, they gonna do you in. I'm trying to tell you.
Yeah. Cory, you say you're in Vegas. Were you doing a party outside, inside?
No, you know what's crazy? So I mean, I'm not traveling as much as prior to COVID, I was traveling, I was 3-4 times a month, man. Man, if Southwest send me, you know how Southwest send you that ding, $49, I'm gone, baby. I'm gone. I don't care listen, I don't care if I'm going to Mississippi, wherever.
You just go, yeah.
I'm gone. But you know what? The Vegas was strange because at 10 o'clock, man, they lights out, baby. They did a hard close in Vegas, man. No shows, no clubs, none of that stuff, man. Restaurants closed. It was only a few places, 1 or 2 places might have been open. But you also had to, if you wanted to go to a restaurant, you had to make reservations. Mm-hmm. Everything was reservations. Yeah.
So you can block how many people coming in or whatever.
Yeah, but I will tell you, man, prior to this, I am a germaphobe. I don't even know if people know I'm petty, but they have no idea that I'm truly a germaphobe. Like I am truly I don't like people, I mean, if I'm bartending or we doing an event, that's a performance to me. I'm all smiles and all that. But when this is over, man, I'm hand sanitizer. Don't touch me. Because people are just nasty. People nasty, man. People are just human beings. Are just nasty.
They are.
Now I remember when I tried to touch you, like handshake you a couple times. You're like, "Yeah, man," and you touch my shoulder, but you're escaping.
It's not personal. It's not personal. It's just that when you're in this business, you literally, man. Look, you will be in the stall. A guy will walk in, use the bathroom, won't wash his hands, and you be like, "Wait a minute, that was the cook."
That's funny. That is hilarious.
That's messed up. Yep.
You see it all over the place.
Yeah.
And you get back to your table, he putting your bread on the table.
Wow. No, it's really serious. I carry around a hand sanitizing thing. Nobody has to tell me nothing about COVID. I've taken every precaution I can. And I haven't done many shows. Like Cory was saying, it's kind of like almost shut down. Not shut down, but almost shut down for comedians and singers and stuff like that, because our gifts make it so that we pretty much need an audience in some way, form, or fashion, whether it's virtual, whether it's in person, whether it's an auditorium. We as performers, as you all know, you just can't get on the stage and ain't nobody there, and you just unless you're doing something virtual. So I've seen a lot of creative ideas on social media with respect to shows and performances and stuff. And I don't think this will be our new normal, but part of it is going to start drifting into the mainstream of everything that's happening because it's working good. Look, I mean, this podcast.
But how do you not have that? How do you not have as a comedian? That's for you guys. How do you not have that you? I mean, doesn't that go hand in hand? Don't you have to have that joke response? Like, don't you isn't that organic? Like, don't you have to?
Yeah, I mean, you miss the whole, because also like when you have an audience, like a live audience, I think is the feedback, like the laughter or whatever, the interaction, it gives you more energy.
Absolutely.
So we're doing
your timing and stuff.
for your timing and sharpening your jokes and knowing where to place a certain maybe pause in the joke. Like you only get that from actually working, right? Like you only get that from being on.
Yeah.
Or getting drunk, being in front of your friends like I do.
Yeah, Sampson, tell us, like, since this, when was the last time you performed in a stand-up comedy? Oh, you done stand-up comedy either outside or inside? When was the last time?
I did it for a group of boys last night. No, I'm just playing.
not that kind of comedy.
Twerking and jokes. Sampson got twerks and jokes.
That is funny. That's hilarious. Oh my God.
Like take your shirt off. I'm gonna put some oil on you. That was not the show we're talking about.
Them bills don't stop. Them bills don't stop.
No, they don't. You know, it's funny because I was having the boys come out with me at my shows right before things shut down. I would have 2 shirtless guys come out on stage, and oh my God, they loved it.
I saw that.
Yeah, they loved it. The last time I was on stage was I think in October, late October. I did a show here in LA, and everybody was spaced out there, but it still felt weird. But I was just happy to be in front of an audience, but it felt weird. But I was happy to say I haven't lost anything. When I got up there, it was like I hadn't lost the beat. I'm over here like Gladys Knight. I'm still looking at comedy and stuff every day. Did y'all see Gladys Knight on Versus with Patty?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
She showed up.
Yes, she
ready.
did. Yes, she did.
I had a whole new respect for that because I don't know. I still think you should be working on your craft. I'm still working on it, but I shifted the energy as far as making a living over to doing stuff virtually.
You have to pivot.
But I pivoted. I started making films and things like that, and making money off that, like monetizing videos online. Yeah. And still like hosting virtual events and stuff like that. But it's been just kind of a pivot, but I'm still like working on comedy at the same time.
That's still sort of a testament to you guys, right? That's still sort of a testament because, like, you know, Miss Morrison jumped on here. She's talking, I mean, she's going back, right? Yeah. But even though she went back, she's always like even though the game may change or whatever, you got to adapt. That's right. Like no matter what the environment is, you still out there swinging, Miss Morrison.
You know what, Cory? I tell people I'm on my 6th decade of watching comics. I've watched comedy change 6 different times in an era. You know, it's like nowadays, this is the internet era.
Right.
When I first started out, it was camaraderie. There was a lot of camaraderie. Comics helped each other when I first started. You know, they would like I remember when I had to move back to DC, the white clubs here, which would be the Improv, a place called Garvin's, and then there was the Comedy Cafe. These were all white places, and none of them. I worked there once, and they just never let me back on. And you got me having people like Whitney Houston taking me on the road with her. You know, something's got to be whatever. But in that era, I remember Andy Evans. I don't know if you know Andy Sampson. He was.
I do.
Okay, all right. It was Andy told me to go up to the Ibex. Now the Ibex was a club where they would chew your head. There's all lions in the audience. They would chew your head off your body if you didn't come correct. It was the only Black club at the time where you could go and do comedy. I heard a story about how Chris Rock had come in there one night and they literally booed him off. And he picked up his hat and rolled out, but he came back after he had learned how to do whatever it is, after he learned how to be great.
Yeah.
But at that time, you had you started having Black comics popping up. Now, this is my 51st year in the business. I celebrated 50 years last year. And
congratulations.
Thank you. Yeah. So for 6 decades, I've watched the comedy game. Ed, I remember when I first came to your room, you had a place down on U Street. Mm-hmm. I know you brought talent in there one night, and at that time, the people that you were bringing in were kind of big. they were names. And I was like, well, who is this Ed Blaze that he has this kind of pull that he's able to bring? First of all, to have this room on U Street, and it was wonderful. It was just wonderful. So when I first met you, you had already established your name as somebody to want to be associated with respect to comedy. I mean, that is what it is.
And I was still very new, really new.
And you know what? A lot of us knew that you were new, but you had this something that you.
It's called an accent, Miss Morrison. It's called an accent. He been working that same accent for 40 years. The same accent.
Funny.
English ain't got no better.
But everything was always like top shelf. With Ed, everything was always top shelf. And that's why I said, don't let me forget to tell people, Ed, how when I first met you, if you were lucky enough to sit at one of Ed's tables, because he had his own private little, how the big producers and all that other stuff too. Ed had his own little section. And if you sat anywhere near him, it was absolutely on. All the drinks, all the food, everything that you needed, wanted, whatever. Ed was the man. And I was like, when he met me, I really felt good because he was like, he started calling me First Lady. And I was so tickled because every time he would say that, everybody would go, well, who is she? And I was, because, nobody really knew me at the time. So it was just a pleasure, Ed. I was delighted to.
But that's the thing about entertainment. Like, even they say, who are you? Because as soon you step off a little bit, it's like people start kind of almost forgetting who you are, kind of thing. It's like really weird, but I guess, I don't know, with the population or whatever, maybe the fans kind of getting distracted or whatever, like they go away or something. But yeah, that's the thing about entertainment.
And that's why for each decade, I've had to change because it's changing. You just gotta move with the flow. I can't go back out there and do Jane Hathaway and Lily Tomlin. There are people that I'm doing Melania Trump and Kamala Harris and Michelle Obama. I gotta keep up with the times. And I love doing. I'm always going to do Whoopi Goldberg because let me just say this. Let me just say this before we go.
On point. I love it.
Yeah.
Sam, tell us, Sampson, I saw a video. Sam has a friend named Jeffrey who, like, if you pay $200, you can suck his toes.
What?
Who's Jeffrey?
Wait a minute, hold up. Time out.
My friends are very smart.
Sampson, how do we go from comedy legends to civil rights to sucking toes for $200? That's where you go.
Sounds like Ed might want to be a customer to me.
See, one thing about Sampson, I'm telling y'all, Sampson has always had courage. He's going to say what's on his mind. He's going to say what he's thinking, and he's going to say what we all are thinking.
Right.
So are we getting our toes sucked? Or are we paying to suck somebody's toes? What are we doing?
That's what I'm trying to
I'm not gonna be the one paying. So sounds like we getting paid over here. Okay.
That is so hilarious. That is so.
No, he said so. He has a friend that I watch on his page.
Named Jeffrey.
Jeffrey got paid $200 for a dude to suck his toe or to play with his toe, whatever. So I'm trying to figure. Sampson say he hasn't been doing comedy, but he found some other way to make money.
Surprise!
He's managing people. Like, you want to suck someone's toes? I'll send you someone.
As long as they know they're gonna be sucking mines, okay, and paying, yes.
Oh, y'all, well, okay. See, that's a whole nother section of comedy that I haven't got to yet. I haven't got to that side. Oh, God.
It is great comedy because you laugh because it's people crazy enough to do it.
Hey, so Ed, let me ask you guys this. Because Sampson was kind of touching on it before Miss Morrison jumped on the thing. So you guys have been Ed, you know, I've known you for a long time. I've watched Sampson, I'm getting to know Ms. Morrison. You guys have been doing this for a long time. So something I want to ask you guys, because I face it too in life and business. You doing your thing, right? And this is not a knock on anybody. Dave Chappelle ain't funnier than Sampson. Chris Rock ain't funnier than, you know, Whoopi Goldberg ain't funnier than her. So when you see, and you have love for all these people, but don't sometimes you just be like, how is this, now we live in this world now where like this lame, no funny mediocrity, like I can literally look on somebody, they have 1 million followers and they're doing nothing. How do they get to like just shoot off and make all this money and get all this notoriety? And you be like, I've been in the trenches for 20 years. Like, God, what is my turn gonna come?
I've learned to respect it. I mean, I really have learned to respect it. And by learning to respect it, even though I don't understand it, I've learned a whole lot. And I think, you know, like I said earlier in the call,
right,
they're the ones with the followers and getting booked at clubs. Like we the real comedians.
Right.
You know, I'm doing that. But you know what I'm saying? Yeah. We need to take more pages out of the book. I like what they're doing. It's not the type of comedy I do, but I'm happy to see something working for somebody.
And you know, on top of that, it's called change.
Right.
The internet has come on board with a blast, you know, with a rage. The internet is here. A lot of people have found a way to use their looks, their everyday funny in front of their family, funny, and transfer it to social media. And so the same way they entertain their family in the living room, now the internet has become the living room. I've seen some of these comments. I'm like you, Cory. I'm like, okay, all right, okay. Like the new thing that I'm just learned about in the last few weeks is TikTok.
Right.
TikTok has just blown up. And it's like, why, how, and whatever, it doesn't matter. It's blown up. So what you gonna do? Not be a part of it? Not
right.
You know, I tell people in my interviews that I have a TikTok account, and they laugh, especially young people. And because of that, they're starting to come up. I am so happy that all of these millennials and these Z and X and all of these youngsters are coming over and joining me. And I'm like, okay, so because they think it's funny that I'm this, you know, that I'm this grown. Old. And I have a TikTok page, I have a Twitter page, a Facebook page, and this the Instagram page. So I think what has happened is this is a whole new era. This is another decade of comedy. Mm-hmm. It's like,
yeah, if you put a twist, I'm sure you've done it. I mean, I'll go check it out. But if you put a twist on that Whoopi Goldberg impression and drop some content in there that the millennials can relate to with that Whoopi Goldberg thing, boom, that they sharing your content. Oh, yeah. You made it one time, and they sharing your content, and you ain't had to do nothing but make it one time.
Yeah. Well, for whatever reason, I did a Whoopi Goldberg impression on YouTube. It's there, and I talk about my new product, which is cannabis, you know, weed and all that other stuff. And why, you know, listen, let me explain this to you guys. Let me just say this, because weed will really, well, I better not explain it, because you may go and tell your parents that I told you to smoke weed, and it's like you're smoking it anyway, but they don't know it. You know, I didn't say all of that on it, but I'm saying that's another decade. This is another decade of comedy. Like, if you have children old enough to watch today, 20 years, 10 years from now, it will be something totally different. It hasn't changed. There was a time when women first started doing comedy, they had substance to their comedy. Now it's all about dicks and poles and sex and my man. You know, it's like I just get so frustrated when I go to a comedy club and I see every female, almost, not all of them, because there's some funny females out, funny. But the new ones coming up, they think that they have to talk about their boyfriend and their sex life. Right. And it's like they've been doing that for 3 decades, you know, 3. But that's why, Sampson, you're such a refreshment. You know, you're such a refreshment because you do what you do and you ain't scared. You ain't scared. And you talk about what you want to talk about. And it's stuff that a lot of straight people don't know. I know of 3 people, at least 3 people, Sampson, that you have straightened out with the whole gay movement thing. And they'll be like, I never knew that. I said, y'all need to watch Sampson because he calls it like he sees it and he doesn't care. He just doesn't. He's not trying to embarrass or hurt your feelings. He just calls it like you oftentimes talk about people who say disrespectful stuff to you at your shows. Mm-hmm. And I've heard you and seen you straighten them out. And I think a lot of people don't realize how they are saying stuff to you or to gay people, period. That's why I said I love that they acknowledge who you are and how you are and what you came to be and how you're opening doors and doing this and that. I remember. Well, anyway, I get excited. I get to talking and I won't let them.
As you're talking, I was remembering how I met Sampson. I saw him first time he performing on stage. But because you don't know this, you go on open mic, you meet a bunch of people that you never met, so you don't know their history. So I'm new, probably I don't know. I've been doing comedy for almost 2-3 years, and I see him on stage, and I go perform. He go perform. I'm like, yo, he's funny, and then he got material and comfortable on stage. And next time again, we run into each other, and I see him. He's doing some new material, and I'm like, wait. This motherfucker new, but he funny. Come to find that he's been doing this shit for years. So I'm thinking he got what you say about 20 years. I've been doing for almost 11 years. So it's it was I'm looking. I'm he's been doing for years, but I'm I was trying to figure wait, he's doing open mic me. We both knew, but he's way too funny, and he come up with material every week. Well, I'm trying to. I'm doing every open mic, and I'm trying to do the same. I do maybe 4 jokes, and then I repeat 3 jokes or the other stuff. And this motherfucker doing new jokes. I'm what the heck?
Yeah, I still really, really do. I mean, I was thinking about Chris Rock and some of them, even though they don't do comedy all the time. You never stop being a comedian,
right?
But I think Miss Sylvia will know when I say this. I don't think people acknowledge the work that goes into being one of the first, creating that lanes, Miss Sylvia is an impressionist. That was a lane. Nobody was doing that. And when you're outside of a lane, people don't know where to put you. And it's you really do have to create that path. And that is exhausting. And a lot of times you don't get your flowers for it. Mm. And I was still pushing through really, really hard. But if we wouldn't have been shut down, I don't know if I'd have been able to do another year of that. I still do love comedy, but I was just exhausted. I was pushing through on pure will. And because I love the craft that much. It's funny because I dump a man real quick, but with comedy, it's we're going to work this out. So it's always, I was successful at it and good at it, but it's still when you should be a little bit further ahead or something like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. You speaking to my soul right now, Sampson. You speaking to my soul.
Yeah. Corey, what do you? I know you bartend. What else do you DJ and what else?
No. So I don't do none of that. I used to make drinks. I was good at a bartender. I stayed in my lane, and then I built a company around bartending. So I would contract out. So I would hire chefs, DJs, whatever my client. Our company motto is cut the check. I figure it out. If you cutting the check, I'll get you whatever you want legally. Mm-hmm. So I built the business around that, but to the effect of what Sampson was saying. So we were doing 20 events a week. And you know how Facebook shows you that memory? You know how you can go and see what you did this time last year, 10 years ago? Man, if I don't pray COVID on nobody, but I thank God that the world paused, because I look back now, I'm I had to be crazy running around doing 20 events a week, saying yes to everybody, taking everybody's money. I would never do now. Whenever we come back out of this, I have more value for my time than I ever did before. Mm-hmm. I value my peace. I value my money. I value even us doing this. I would have never had time to sit down and do this and connect with you guys on this level, even though it's virtual. it's still, you know, as human beings, it's still a connection. I never had, because we were just, that's the world. We had built up this world where like everything was instant. I text you, I emailed you, you didn't answer me, you don't want my money. Everything was like this. And if you missed an opportunity, you know, they shut the door and, you know, they wouldn't call me. And now I could be like, let me schedule an appointment. Let me get you on my calendar. And, you know, I can do that now. But that's only because of the world being paused.
I told him he cannot get brand new on me, even if he get all his money. I remember him when he had a Honda Accord, whatever the Honda was, like a Nissan Sentra, whatever it was. He had this messed up Honda Accord. And, yeah, that's where I remember him. So don't, like, you get all your money, always remember I'm your boy, you know. So
I'm never gonna forget, man. No matter how high I go, I'm never gonna forget.
By the way, I remember too, like even like I'm reading all this Hollywood stuff with Sampson. I remember he used to give me some free coffee one day around. You remember the Starbucks days? He tried to forget the Starbucks.
Oh
days.
my God.
I don't know what you're talking about. I think you got me mixed up with somebody else.
So I used to live in like Logan Circle, and like
in Logan Circle?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Go ahead.
So I will come out, and then one day I'm at the Starbucks. I'm like, yo, it's like, yeah, don't worry about it. I took the Starbucks. He pretended like he doesn't. He doesn't remember. Starbucks.
You know, I used to do that. I used to do that with everybody. I hated that job. Anybody came in there, can I get a grande coffee? I'd be like, here, how much it costs? Take it. Get out. Yeah, I did that to everybody.
Dang, I missed it. Oh my God.
Yeah,
funny.
I would have been your favorite. Or either they would throw money on the counter and I would just put it in my pocket. I didn't care.
That is hilarious. Oh my God. Well, guys, I got to get ready to run, but I did want to tell you
so much.
That with respect to change, I have been offered the part in a one-woman play called The Return of Jackie Moms Mabley.
Wow.
Yes.
Wow.
And we were, before COVID, we were going to be at the Howard for 3 nights and at the Apollo for 3 nights. We had already started working, but you know, soon as we were about ready to put it down, okay. Anyway, but they shut stuff down. So
Sampson, you know who to call right now. So I just connected you with First Lady. So you need to call her, talk to her about this.
No, we really need to find a way to work on a Moms Mabley biopic or something. Like I would have to act up a little bit so I get my energy up first before I would take on this challenge. But I would love to see a piece from that era featuring Moms Mabley.
Did you guys know that Moms was a dancer singer before she became a comedian? She was a showgirl. And she was gorgeous. She was just, I said, oh, I wonder what, Lord. She was, if you look at some of her old pictures from back in the day, she was absolutely gorgeous. But she did, you know, those, what do you call them girls that do their leg? You know, they do the leg thing. And she was a showgirl. And she and I had houses across the street from each other. Her house was on the corner of First and R Street in Northwest. I was on First Street. Now she had died by the time I bought the house in DC on First Street, but I could look out my window. There's her house. And so the thing came up with all these producers and so forth saying, wait a minute. So you got the first Black female comedian ever who did the Chillin' Circuit, all of that stuff, Moms Mabley, living on the same block as the first Black female comedic impressionist who's been in the game for 50 years. So it's a one-woman play. And I get to depict some of Mom's favorite singers, like Ella Fitzgerald. Anybody that knows Ella knows that she was the scat queen of her day. That, you know, moms loved her. Sarah Vaughan, Nancy Wilson, all of these ladies I get to depict in this rendition. So I wanted to let you know about that too, Ed. And
that's really awesome.
So that when you start seeing the advertisements coming, I'm really, really excited about it. Awesome. And if anybody wants to read about the COVID. It's on Amazon. Me, Satan, God, and COVID, and also on my website at Sylvia. Oh yeah, I'll send you an autographed copy if you get it off my website.
Yes,
So.
awesome.
I'm over here looking up these second runner-up Miss Black America pageant photos. That's what I'm looking for.
I can. Well, I have to find out of.
Where them photos at?
They online. Actually, I have a lot of those. I just posted one with me and Bernadette back in. That's the night she got the card to come in to audition the next day for Thelma. Like I said earlier, and they sent me to Europe to entertain the troops. So I think somebody is okay. And so I just posted a post of her and I back then, and then we hooked up. We did a commercial together for wasn't the Emmys? Well, whatever. We did a commercial together, and I saw her at the Congressional Black Caucus with our books last year. Excuse me. So, there's some pictures. If you go on my Facebook page or my Instagram page, those pictures are there, and they should be relatively new. But yeah.
All right. Thank you so much. Thank you so much, guys, for showing me live and coming to my
more like
podcast.
just jump on stage
And now we can leave Sampson to get his toe sucked. So
and then like you're busy and all kind of stuff. So,
And you look healthy. You look good. You look amazing. So thank you.
I'm trying to stay away from people. I'm staying in the house. I don't want nobody coughing on me. So
I miss people coughing on me.
Take care, everybody. I'll see you guys later.
So
bye, Miss Sylvia.
All right. Our first lady.
Okay.